once heard a speech aimed at us incoming students, almost all of which I have now forgotten. The general gist of it was to make the most of our years at the university, blah, blah, blah. But then one line struck me, and it has remained with me for years now. That our time there, what we make of it, is a movable feast. I didn't know the origin of that phrase then, but I immediately recognized it as a shining jewel of truth. To possess something so fulfilling, one could never be truly hungry. For wherever I went, whatever I did, I would have this infinite source of sustenance to feast upon. This morning, I am in the Latin Quarter. It is early yet, and I have found this little park, Square Rene Viviani, to spend time in until my destination opens. This humble park has some notable details. One of them is that in it lives the oldest planted tree in Paris, a locust tree, Robinia pseudoacacia, named after the one who set its roots down in 1601, Jean Robin. It is a species that is especially adaptable in urban settings and so hardy that it even survived a bomb during World War I. Over time, a legend thrived that rubbing its trunk brought about good luck, so it has been fenced off to keep it safe from the superstitious for hundreds of years more. The other thing I discovered this morning is this strange three-sided sculpture. A fountain, actually, with carvings of what seemed like imprisoned lovers, doomed children, and, oddest of all, the antlered head of a deer. This sculpture from 1995 is the work of Georges Jean-Claude and is based on the legend of Saint Julian the Hospitaller. The tale began as a medieval story told and retold in the oral tradition by bards and at one point adapted by Gustave Flaubert. Saint Julian's tale is a wild one, with prophecies of Julian's parents dying by his hand, him fleeing to escape his fate, only to unknowingly succumb to it in the end. But that's not all. Julian's errant past also involved the slaughter of a field of deer, and a leper asking Julian to lend him his wife for a night, for, I quote, "I need the flesh of a woman to warm me," unquote. And apparently, Julian did lend the leper his wife. Lucky wife. And now, Julian is revered as a Catholic saint. Saint Julian is the patron saint of travelers, ferry workers, hotel keepers, as well as carnival workers, fiddlers, jugglers, murderers, and pilgrims. Yes, murderers apparently have a patron saint. It's significant that this sculpture dedicated to Saint Julian, the patron saint of travelers and pilgrims, lies here, for through this park runs a pilgrimage route, the lesser-known French road to the Camino de Santiago. In just a few steps lies Kilometer Zero, the point at which all French roads begin, and also happens to be the scene of my destination this morning, Shakespeare and Company. Not my first time here, but I performed the pilgrimage nevertheless. There is a line out the door, of course, and it is a madhouse inside, as I expected. Despite the wall-to-wall crush of bookish pilgrims, one can still imagine what it must have been like for penniless authors back in the day to have been invited here to sleep. Writers like Allen Ginsberg and Henry Miller. There are still daybeds upstairs, tucked into corners amongst shelves of books, where a weary writer could rest his head for the night. I am struck with the most wonderful idea for a hotel/bookstore. Surely someone has thought of this idea. I would reserve such a room in a heartbeat. A comfy bed nestled among floor-to-ceiling books, chandeliers to read by, a piano nearby where someone softly plays some music. I brave the crush for one purpose, and that is to purchase just one book. This particular edition, with the photograph of a young Hemingway in Paris, superimposed on the bookstore storefront. This is what I want to read while I'm in Paris. I am at Beefbar. It is Art Deco, not Art Nouveau, but suitably fancy nevertheless. The interiors are green velvet couchettes with gold-edged tables and gold-trimmed lights. The carpet is black and tan with sprays of tan flowers. It is very sophisticated looking, and I am having a glass of Bordeaux. The bar is floor-to-ceiling mirrors and tons of champagne. Kale salad is a delight, refreshing and tender, a fitting prelude to my steak frites. Not only am I having a glass of red, my first in Paris, but shall I tell you a secret? This will be my first taste of beef in years. If there was any place fitting to break my beef ban, it would be Paris, in a restaurant called Beefbar. Heavens, I wouldn't be caught ordering chicken or seafood in such a place, now would I? Oh my, it's amazing. Well worth the wait. Maybe it was a glass of red wine, the béarnaise sauce, or the fact that everyone is so solicitous. The steak frite was heavenly, melted in my mouth, and topped with béarnaise sauce. Well, it was a feast. I do hope I don't get a headache. If I feel unwell, then I know the beef has disagreed with me, or I have disagreed with the beef. I, or my stomach rather, would have a beef with the beef. There are businessmen here, so I think this is a place to conduct business and have serious conversations. Manly things. The bartender is doing a little dance while making cocktails. He is graceful and it is a show. He is beefy with giant black rimmed glasses and is the most interesting one here. A fourth has just joined the table next to me. Must be the journalist they were mentioning. She is in her 50s or 60s and has arrived wearing a purse studded with grommets and a motorcycle helmet. Edgy and a writer. Cool. Was a more beautiful room. Exquisite. The reason why this restaurant is written up in all the guides. A jewel of an Art Nouveau room, all pale blues and silvers and greens. And I was sat outside of it. How disappointing. So this is my tip for you. Make sure to be seated in this beautiful room. I barely made it to Petit Palais before it started raining. Not too harsh, just some drizzling rain where it was muggy before. Outside Petit Palais, a man approached me saying he had a ticket if I wanted to go with him. The utter nerve! It's free! Yes, you have to have a ticket, but the tickets are free. There are art students here drawing from the sculptures, and something in me aches to do the same. I had a little bit of an affinity for it a long time ago. I wonder if I ever pursued it. Well, I would be middling by now, I'm sure. No talent for it, just a desire. I had a vision of myself living in Paris, drawing and painting just for myself, not to live on it, but to indulge in, to be better at it, take classes. That and writing and cooking and learning French. have finagled a table at the Petit Palais garden. I'm in a courtyard overlooking a lovely garden with palm trees and mosaic pools, and a glorious domed building across decorated with golden-winged angels. It is drizzling a little. I want to order tea, but I don't want to get up and give up this beautiful spot. I have to go run an errand in a bit, but this is so lovely I don't want to leave. I wish they had table service here, for I am famished even though I had a rather expensive lunch. I don't even want to leave a book to claim a table. My brand new Hemingway? No, it might get lifted. This is, after all, a free museum. Anyone can enter, even thieves. Museums tire me so. But just as my spirit was flagging, I unexpectedly came upon a very small Pre-Raphaelite section. I spotted the Waterhouse from far off, instantly recognizing his style. Lamia, one I haven't seen before. John William Waterhouse was obsessed with beautiful femme fatales, but the story of Lamia is a tragic one. From Greek mythology, she was favored by Zeus and thus incurred Hera's infamous jealousy, who unleashed her deadly wrath on Lamia's children. Driven by madness and grief, Zeus transformed Lamia into a serpentine monster who in turn devoured others' children. Waterhouse's painting, his second of Lamia, depicts not so much this Greek myth, but John Keats' poem, which portrays Lamia already in her serpentine form in a rather stunning language. Quote, a palpitating snake, bright and circumscient in a dusky break. She was a Gordian shape of dazzling hue, vermilion spotted, golden, green, and blue, striped like a zebra, freckled like a pard, eyed like a peacock, and all crimson barred. Lamia helps the god Hermes in finding a beautiful nymph he lusted after, so in return Hermes transforms Lamia into the woman she once was. She and the youth Lycius fall in love, but Keats doesn't give her a happy ending. At their wedding banquet, cruel Apollonius tells Lycius the truth about his new bride, who suddenly vanishes upon being unmasked, and poor bereaved Lycius dies of grief. Waterhouse's painting depicts Lamia in her beautiful human form, with the monstrous truth only hinted at by the scaly, colorful scarf snaking around her lower body. Taken with all his other paintings, his Lamia fits right in with the melancholy, solitary sirens who entice and destroy men with their tragic beauty. And I recognized a few other pieces. This one, a sculpture whose twin lies in Montmartre atop Alphonse Bodin's grave. It is worth noting that Alphonse Bodin typifies the French spirit of resistance, as he died in defense of workers' rights, shot by Napoleon III's soldiers. Besides these in the small Pre-Raphaelite collection, I was most fascinated by the lush portraits of 19th century women. Some looking regal in red velvet, others reclining in a chaise with sumptuous gowns gazing directly at their viewers. Except for Sarah Bernhardt, I do not know who they are or what they accomplished, only that their beauty inspired. I would love to have tea somewhere warm, curl up with one of my books, eat some cookies, chocolate. Maybe I'll go home and make a tart or cookies and drink something hot. There's a slight ceasing of the drizzle, so I suppose now would be a good time to leave. Especially since there are others who want to get this table, these chairs. Home at last, The crowds have worn me out. And I am hungry again. It has occurred to me that although I spent quite some time in La Tartine recently, I never did try their namesake. A tartine is supposedly any open-faced sandwich. Very simple, right? So I made my go-to, avocado toast crowned with fried egg. Voila! Tartine!